All right, good morning, brothers and sisters. It's Wednesday, my dudes. It's an old meme. We're in First Samuel 17, and I'm going to hit the first 27 verses because it's a very full chapter. There's a lot going on here. This is where David and Goliath get down. Now, it shows here that Israel was gathered at Sukkot, and they were in the valley, and then you had the Philistines on one side of the mountain and Israel on the other, and they would come down and fight in the valley. Now, the Bible states, I want to share something real quick. Goliath is not a giant. The word calls him a champion. When you go to the giants in the book of Joshua, and you go to the book, I think it's Exodus, these were giants. It says that they were grasshoppers, like grasshoppers inside of men. If you stand next to a grasshopper, you see how big those things were. Those were giants. Goliath was not a giant. The word calls him a champion. Sunday school calls him a giant. All right. There was giants in the land back then, but as they describe in First Samuel, Goliath, there is a giant description of him. Okay, this dude was only 9 feet tall. All right, he wasn't like thinking 800 feet tall. No, he was 9 feet tall. He was just a big boy. You know what I'm saying? So in verse 3, it describes how he was. It says, the Philistines stood on a mountain on one side. Oh no, in verse 4, and the champion went out from the camp of the Philistines named Goliath from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head. He was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of that coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. And he had a bronze armor on his legs, and a bronze javelin between his shoulders. Now on the staff of the spear was like a weaver's beam. The spearhead was like a weaver's beam of bronze and iron. And the spearhead weighed 600 shekels. And he had a shield bearer with him. So as you hear this description, I don't know if you guys seen the Avengers, those Marvel movies. And there's a guy in there called Thanos. Okay, he basically looks like Thanos, except he ain't purple. You know. Now it shows here that as Goliath was out there mocking Israel, talking smack, he says, find a man to fight me, and if he's able to kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I kill him, then you'll serve us. Now it shows here in verse 11, it says, when Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. If you notice from the beginning, Saul has a problem with hearing. He doesn't listen to Samuel. He doesn't listen to the Lord, but yet he listens to the people. All right. Now here we are. There's an army of Israel, many mighty men. This guy's a king, and now he hears the words of one man, one champion, and the people of Israel are looking at Saul like, what do we do? And Saul's tripping like, I don't know. Because in the previous chapter, it shows that when there was a mighty man that came up against Israel, a big man of structure, Saul would take him out. And I believe that was in probably verse 15, Saul's wars. Okay, it was chapter 14, verse 52. Now there was a fierce war with the Philistines all the days of Saul. And when Saul saw any strong man or any valiant man, he took him for himself. 3 chapters later, here's this champion, and Saul's like, I ain't doing this. That's the big dude. Saul, the distressing spirit that was upon Saul, as you can see, as God removed his spirit, the spirit of boldness and the spirit of confidence and the spirit of God left him, so he no longer took these strong men on. So when he heard what this one fool was saying, they flipped out. Now, it was told, every so often, David would leave Saul's kingdom and go back to his father's home and feed the sheep, and then go back to Saul. Well, when David went home, his dad's like, hey, to be fair, before you go back to the kingdom with Saul, take these loaves of bread to your brother, take this cheese and all that, take some grain, get the bread and grain to your brothers, but take the cheese to the captain and find out what's going on. So he was like, cool. So David left the sheep with the keeper and took off. And when he gets to the next day, the Philistines and Israel are in battle array and they're about to fight. And David was like, hey, he left the cheese. He left the cheese and stuff with the keeper there. And he goes up to see his brothers. Hey, what's up, guys? Like, what are you doing here, bro? Like, I just want to see what's going on. And as he's talking to his brothers, David now hears this champion, and verse 22 says, and David left his supplies in the hand of the supply keeper, ran to the army, and came to greet his brothers. Then as he talked with them, there was a champion of the Philistines of Gath, Goliath by name, coming up from the armies of the Philistines, and he spoke according to the same words. So David heard them. Now David's hearing what Saul and the armies heard. David did not react like the army did. David responded as a young man who trusted in God. He didn't act like he didn't react like a man of the army who was trusting in a faulty leader and trusting in spears and shields. David, the shepherd, was responding in the spirit. And as David's hearing this, David's like, what's going on? Why are you guys allowing this fool to talk smack? David's like, so what's happening here? And the guys of Israel are like, you know what, man? He goes, surely, the guys of Israel are like, surely this guy's come to defy the armies of Israel. And they're like, well, whoever kills this champion, the king is going to bless him not only with the king's daughter, but he's going to give that young man's father exemption from taxes. So David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, then what shall be done for the man who kills a Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? You see, David's response was like, whoa, hold on. Forget the dad, forget the daughter. What about Israel? What about the army of the living God? See, David's focus was on the living God. It wasn't about whether he would live or not. It was about who's going to defend God, who's going to step up for and focus and trust that God's going to take care of this. Why are we letting these fools, these uncircumcised, these unclean people talk smack about our God who gave us a king and who is our salvation? So my point is this. David didn't see a giant. David didn't see a champion. David didn't see an obstacle. David saw an unclean person mouthing up about his pure God. He saw all these men react in fear and not respond in the spirit. Brothers and sisters, we're to be men and women of response. We don't react. All right? We don't sit there and react. We respond. What does that mean? Whenever someone gets hurt and you call the EMTs, you call 911, well, they say 911 response. Okay, they're calm. They're chill. They're not freaking out. Oh my God, what's going on? Why'd you call? What's happening? No. The people on the other line are the ones reacting. They're the ones freaking out. My son got shot. He's bleeding everywhere. Blah, they're crying. They're yelling, please help, help, help. And the operator from dispatch was like, ma'am, sir, calm down. Please, we're going to ask you some questions. Calm down. They're responding in a very calm manner. So once they assess the problem, they send EMTs. Now EMTs show up, the response unit. When they show up, they don't show up like, oh my God, they don't freak out. They say, okay, where's the person at? They see what's going on. They see the area. They scope it out. They see if it's safe. They get in there. They look at the problem, the pathology, and they patch it up real calm and chill. And then they go and take the person to the ambulance and take them to the hospital if this person's worth saving. They respond. They respond professionally. They don't react immaturely. And as men and women of God, we're called to respond in the spirit and not react in the flesh. So there's the gist of the story here. I'm going to get back to you tomorrow with the rest of it. Brothers and sisters, hope this makes sense to you. I love you. Have a blessed Wednesday. And remember, choose wisdom over the world.